Lynn Wilson of Spark Youth, and Dr. Jamal Boyd of Empowering Community Entrepreneurs. It's time to level up. Let's go. More money, that's a level up. More godly, that's a level up. More knowledge, that's a level up. More power, I just leveled up. More money, that's a level up. More godly, that's a level up. More knowledge, that's a level up. More power, I just leveled up. Level up, 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 level up. I'm on my grind, watch me level up. I use my mind, watch me level up. God on my side, watch me level up. Tune in right now to the level up. They say that knowledge is power. Growing my strength as I read every hour. You knew what I knew, every villain would cow. Make the most of my 24 like I'm Jack Bow. Ain't here for nothing, I'm meant to do something, no doubt. I ain't bluffing, I got me, I'm covered. I can't live abundant my life, yeah, I love it. Let's have a discussion to end all the suffering. Yeah, entrepreneurs, that boss talk. Legal leaders, we are all stars. Generational wealth is what I'm on. Faith, family, finances, that's all God. Oh Lord, told him that I'm made for this. Oh boy, told him that I make it rich. Learn from Dr. Bowen and Professor Lynn. Listen close, level up when you catch these gems. More money, that's a level up, level up. More godly, that's a level up. More knowledge, that's a level up. More power, I just leveled up. More money, that's a level up. More godly, that's a level up. More knowledge, that's a level up. More power, I just leveled up. Level up, 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 level up. I'm on my grind, watch me level up. I use my mind, watch me level up. God on my side, watch me level up. Tune in right now to the level up.
All right, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
All right, good morning. Good to see everybody. Hopefully you wore your Summer Tech shirts today and got my email about that. So, there you go. There's Dylan representing. There you go. All right. Well, we are excited.
Said, don't forget her.
Oh yeah, there you go, Jalen. I know Jalen showed off hers.
Make sure that you knew. I just wanted to point that out.
Jalen, represent. Let's go.
Yeah, she's ready for picture day.
Amira, what's going on?
For some reason today I chose to like babysit again, so I don't think I can turn on my camera.
Can you at least take the picture when it's time?
Yeah, I'll try.
Okay.
All right, JB, you want to make the introductions?
All right, yes. So we have another guest speaker to finish out our 6-week program with you all. It's been a pleasure. Today we have Mr. Willie Hayes. Mr. Willie Hayes is a servant to helping, just genuine, great heart, just a great person overall. I think he has a great story, of things he had to overcome in life in order to start his business, and I'm very proud of him. I'm blessed to be part of his. He actually had a grand opening last month for his business, Altitude Financial Partners. Great event, just great people, great networking. And so something I learned from TD Jakes, he talks about you want people around you that can complete you. You don't want people around you that compete with you. And what he means by complete you is that they have different resources, they have different skills to help you build upon your skills. And so this man is a really great man with financial literacy. That's what he does, is teaches you how to handle money, which is very important for businesses, right? As you start to develop your business, you have to think about the money. You have to think about your finances, right? You can't just be like, oh, I don't have any money, but this is going to work off a dream. No, you have to work for it. And so he's just a great person overall, and he's going to drop some gems for you all. Make sure you're taking notes. Please prepare to ask questions. Every single one of you need to ask questions. And just let's go ahead and pass it over to Mr. Willie Hayes.
Thank you, Dr. Jamal. I really appreciate that. I'm going to start with just a little introduction, who I am, how I got to where I am. And then I really want to do more of a question and answer, Q&A. There's tons of things in the realm of finance, both business, personal, micro, macro, we could go over, but I'm a true believer that information is only going to be retained if you have a personal investment in it. So the different things that you've ever wanted to know about money, learn about money, please don't be shy and just go ahead and pipe up and ask. So a little bit about me, Willie Hayes, as Dr. Jamal was saying, born and raised here in Colorado. My story is one that you don't really think of when you think of, financial advisor. I'm an alcoholic. Been one since, I'm being honest, since the age of 17. Learned all of my coping mechanisms, patterns, anything that had to do with life had to do with the consumption of alcohol. I was homeless about 4 years ago, living on the street, living out of my car, living at light rail stations. But I always had a job. I've always maintained a job. And the crazy thing is I was very good at my job all throughout my alcoholism. I was pulling in probably around $40,000 to $45,000 a year while I was living out of my car, drinking God knows how much alcohol. Once I got sober, it really dawned on me that I had no clue about money, which in turn in our society means I had no clue how to take care of myself. And I started thinking back to my upbringing, and what my relationship was with money. Being an alcoholic, I go through what relationships, are good or bad, so on and so forth. You always take stock. And I realized that I had a very adversarial relationship with money. And by adversarial, I mean, whenever I had it, I wanted to get rid of it. And it wasn't because I didn't like money or anything like that. It's because I wanted what was immediately my want at that exact moment. And I realized I learned that just growing up. I am a Black man, obviously. Both my parents are from the South. Both of them grew up absolutely dirt poor. And they don't teach any of this in school. And so we learn all of our money habits, at least initially, from our parents. Well, my parents, they pinched a pretty penny shot, let's put it that way. And whenever I would ask for something, typically the answer was no. And I would always ask them why. And their answer, being from the South, was always because I said so. And so growing up, to me, money was never for me. However, every time we went to the grocery store, I see mom drop $300-400 on groceries. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, Ma, you have money. You just don't want to spend any on me. And so from then on, every time I got money, the first thing I ever did with it was get whatever it is that I wanted. If it was $150 and I made $160, I'm getting that $150 item right then and there. Didn't matter what it was. So every time money came in, money went out. And through being sober, through becoming sober, through different contacts, I actually got into banking, thinking that banking was finance. It's not. It's a very important realm of society, but they don't do any, teaching. That's not the place that I wanted to be. I just so happened to have a couple friends who were in financial services, and so I got hooked up with a job from there, and haven't really looked back. I got into this wanting to make a lot of money. That's the reason why I got into financial services. And then something happened. It was the murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery that completely changed my entire outlook. From that day forward, I decided that it was my goal, my mission to spread financial literacy, to give people of all diverse backgrounds, of underserved, underprivileged backgrounds, the tools and the knowledge that I never really had, but I was always surrounded by. My parents lived in an upper middle class white neighborhood in the mountains. They did just well enough for me to know that I was poor. The old Dave Chappelle joke. But to give families like mine and families like my parents have come from a shot, because we've been traditionally denied, excluded, or even, written in law that we could not do certain things. And so I want to provide all the information necessary for all of you to be able to lead a full, happy, successful life, because money doesn't buy happiness, but if you don't have any money, you're not going to be happy. Not in the state of America today, not the way that society is set up. So having money is more of a sense of security and affords you options. And specifically as a business owner, those options then lead to growth, then lead to different avenues, R&D as they call it, research and development, and you're able to expand beyond your wildest dreams. So that's where I am, that's who I am, and that's what I do. So if y'all have any questions about me personally, feel free to ask. But beyond that, let's talk some finance. What questions y'all got?
I'll go first. I think what I liked a lot is your story. I know, and I think we've been trying to be, we've been intentional with these youth, is that life is hard. Life is going to hit you in so many different ways. And so just you sharing your story is kind of your testimony as well. And so I thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
But what is some advice you can give them? I know they have to experience it, but just if you could talk to, and this is something Professor Lynn and I were discussing, if you could talk to your 14-year-old self or your 17-year-old self, what would you tell them right now?
Two things. One, on like the personal front, I would tell myself not to be afraid to be myself. I was a 3-sport athlete in high school. I went to Conifer High School, if y'all know where that is. So I was one of maybe 6 Black people that I went to school with the entire time. There were a few Latinos at the school, but it was 98% white. And I was always caught up in trying to do what was cool and be popular, live up to, what the white kids saw on TV and heard in music and so on and so forth. At my heart, I'm a geek. Like, I'm a nerd. I like all of the sciencey stuff. I love numbers. I love to read. So just from a personal standpoint, I could have saved myself a lot of personal struggle and strife if I just had the courage to be who I wanted to be who I knew I was. And, me being 31 now, that is so easy for me to say. Being out of it is a whole lot easier than being in it. I can tell you that right now. But I do think that you'd be happier if you were true to yourself on a personal front. When it comes to learning on all fronts, especially when it comes to finance, I would tell myself to ask more questions and ask them of the right people. Friends are great and all, but your friends are at the same level that you are. You're at the exact same place in life that they are. As much as you can learn from your friends, I'm not saying that you can't, you're not going to get the full picture. And it's not from a point of, malice from your friends. It's just, they don't know what they don't know. And you don't know what you don't know. So by asking questions, even the ones that you think are stupid, as you get older, you'll come to realize everyone around you has that stupid question. And the reason why no one knows it is because no one has had the courage to ask it. So just open your mouth. Closed mouths don't get fed. Ask. Whatever it is that you're interested in, ask. Just dive full in.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's go ahead.
For one of the kids.
Yeah, let's open it up for one of the students.
I have a question. So what was like, when it comes to like alcohol, when was like your breaking point? Like, did you go to like rehab, or did you know you just had to stop?
I had several breaking points. That whole term rock bottom is true. Most alcoholics hit rock bottom a couple times before it finally sticks. Surprisingly enough, being homeless was not my rock bottom. You'd think it would be, but it wasn't. Mine came at the realization, I was working as a bartender at a local family like mountain bar. Pretty much everyone I worked with was either an alcoholic or they were trying to be. And I got fired for drinking. So that tells you a little bit about where my alcoholism was at. I was unemployed for about a month and a half. I remember very specifically. I remembered my tax returns got garnished. I think I had just gotten like a speeding ticket or something like that. And I just got passed over for 3 jobs that I had applied for. And I just went hard on the alcohol. I realized that I didn't have enough where I was at. So I hopped in the car and started driving. I came to the point where I did not want to live anymore. So I laid on my gas and I was going to crash my car. Realized I didn't have nearly enough space or time to do anything other than, you know, mess my life up a little further. Ended up crashing the car anyway, walked home. And by the time I got home, my mom called the cops on me. And that's what my rock bottom was. Got arrested, was sitting in jail. And I'll never forget, I was sitting in there with one other guy and someone else was brought into the holding cell where we were waiting to be processed. And they recognized each other and they said, "What's up?" And they started talking. And then I realized that the only place that they had met each other was in jail waiting to be processed. They didn't know each other outside of that, yet they had met each other several times. They were pretty good friends. And I realized that I'm in that cycle. I'm about to be the black man who is in and out of jail because he's drinking, doing crimes, so on and so forth. And that's when I'm like, no, I don't want to do this. Got released the next day on ROR, released on your own recognizance. And I went to AA and I haven't had a drink since.
That's powerful. Thank you so much for sharing your story, Willie. So now, I mean, you went from, we've shared with the kids kind of the cash flow quadrant. I don't know if you're familiar with Robert Kiyosaki's 4 segments. So, you know, you went from the employee side and now you're a business owner. What was the switch? When did you decide, you know what, I'm gonna work for myself?
You know, the switch actually kind of came up on me very quickly and it was completely unexpected. I got my start in financial services with New York Life, very, very large insurance company. I believe it's the 2nd largest in the United States, and it's like top 20 money manager in the world. It's a very large company. And, you know, I was working with them when all the events of, you know, early spring of 2020 happened. And I realized, you know, my entire goal had shifted. It wasn't, you know, making money and getting rich people richer. It was helping out people who looked like me, who grew up like me, grew up like my family, so on and so forth. They weren't down for that. You know, large corporations like to make large profits. And, you know, helping mom and pop shops all over the place, like that's not money to them. You know, helping the regular individual decide what their budget is, it doesn't bring any money in for any of those corporations. So I got a lot of pushback. And so that's when I'm like, you know, let me switch companies. Let me go to someone who's got more of a passion for DEI and P work, you know, diverse, equity, inclusion, and partnership work. And that's when I found myself over at Northwestern Mutual. They were better than New York Life when it came to, you know, people of color and helping them out, but there's still a large multinational corporation. It wasn't moving fast enough for me. And so for me, in my bones, I realized that the only way that I was going to be able to do what I wanted to do, the way that I wanted to do it without any of the added stress and anxiety of, I mean, to be frank and to be honest, you know, this hetero-Christian white male patriarchal society that's looming over me, was to do it myself. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm still terrified. Opening and running your own shop is a very terrifying proposition. And I do want to say it's not for everybody. And that's okay. It's okay if it's not for you. Because there are plenty of days in which there are plenty of weeks that I've woken up and I'm like, I didn't do anything all week. I was supposed to do X, Y, Z. I had so many calls to make. I had so many clients that I needed to reach out to. Like, to the point where I had people, if I made one phone call, I was going to be making money that I just didn't do because I didn't feel like doing it. That's a hard thing to get over. And so that was really the push for me. My drive to do things my way, the way that I wanted to do it, and be relieved of the stress of the pressure of others was what drove me to start my business. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that I do have a business partner. Her name is Jeannie Boymel, and she made my decision a whole lot easier simply because she had a little bit more, not much more, but a little bit more experience in the financial realm than I did. And her vision and my vision pretty much aligned. And the same struggles that she went through as a female wasn't exact, but a lot of those same things happened to me. So we were able to decide on a partnership to do things our way and reach out to the people that we want to reach out to the way that we want to reach out to them. So that's what our driving force was. Dylan, Amira?
I'll probably go. My question is, did you like ever experience like any racism during those like times?
Yes. I don't know. I'd say 80% of it was not blatant racism. It was those microaggressions. Within 1 week of being at Northwestern Mutual, I was called aggressive, which is hilarious because I thought that I was being super diplomatic. Yeah, a lot. I still see it today. I'm not gonna lie, Dr. Jamal has seen our offices. Our offices are pretty nice, and we're in downtown Littleton, and I'm still a little wary walking up here, because I'm in a realm in which most people of color have been denied access. And as much as I love invading spaces from a racial justice standpoint, it's scary. And I am hypersensitive to the looks, the tones, how people react to my tone of voice. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, right now I'm speaking to y'all in my normal voice, but this is not my public voice. There's too much baritone in here. That's one of those self-conscious things that I'm still grappling with and going to therapy for, because my white voice is actually a lot like this. Take a lot of that bass out, so I don't scare anybody. So a lot of those things I still deal with today, even as a business professional. I have XYZ accreditations to my name, professional licenses, so on and so forth. But I still feel all of that. A lot of times I do still feel like I'm the 14-year-old boy who's putting on the football helmet for the first time in front of a group of white kids who expect me to be the next, Barry Sanders. I feel that a lot. And to be honest, I hate to tell it to you, but it's probably not going to go away anytime soon. But having allies is what'll help you. As a young man, I didn't have that. I think a lot of that was the reason why I went towards alcohol, because I didn't grow up with people who looked like me. Every summer I went down to New Orleans, but 2 out of 12 months is not a lot to be around our people. So finding friends, true friends in which you can be vulnerable around, who are not going to rib you for it, who are not going to tear you down, who aren't going to make you feel inferior. Those are the people that you should surround yourself with. And those are the people that will help you get through all of those feelings of racism that that you feel that, some people will call you crazy for feeling.
Thanks. That answers my question.
Cool.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
When did you really find people that really supported you, truly actually helped to motivate you?
When I opened my mouth. When I decided that I was going to be vulnerable and actually tell people what I wanted. as a Black male, we are taught to, from a very young age, to keep everything close to the vest, because everybody's out to get you. Everybody's gonna, sabotage you one way or another. And to a certain extent, like it's true. But we have to push through that. And the older you get, the more true this is. Birds of a feather flock together. When I really started feeling support for who I was as a sober individual, Black male financial advisor working in financial literacy for the BIPOC community, was when I started volunteering. I realized those are my people. Pardon my French, and I'm sure all of you have heard curse words before, but shitty people don't volunteer. Plain and simple. People who give their time during the middle of the day on a weekday out in the hot sun, those are good people. Those are people who are always wanting to help. And one of the things I live my life by is the mantra of help first, always. And so that's who I naturally gravitate towards. People who, like me, feel that need, that urge to help. I'm not the smartest person out here. I'm not the biggest, I'm not the strongest, so on and so forth. But I will do whatever I can to help you in whatever way that I can. If that's, introducing you to someone who truly does know how to help you, then I'll do that. If it's, rolling up my sleeves and helping you move your apartment, then I'll do that. If it's helping you go fishing, I'll do that. But finding the people that I like to be around, I found by just talking about it and then going out and doing things. I find myself a conundrum. I'm an intensely social person, but I love to be alone. So I go back and forth between these two worlds. And I find as long as I'm open and honest with myself and the people around me, I just seem to keep attracting people who I really, really like. And so it just makes my life easier and easier. Even when my life gets hard, I know that there are people around me that are there. So that's what my advice would be. Lean in fully to whatever it is that you like to do and open your mouth and talk about it. Everybody has somebody that has a like interest. It's a matter of finding them. Don't do it on the internet though, do it in person.
And especially, I have a question. So like on your day-to-day life, do you feel like you have to code switch a lot? Like, do you take it as like you're people pleasing in a way?
I am rapidly working on not code switching. 100% as a Black male, I have to. If I get pulled over by the police, there is no, it's a survival mechanism, but when it comes to me and my business, I'm me. Like, as you see, I'm sitting in the office, I've got my hat on, I've got purple shirt, glasses, I'm wearing shorts, I'm wearing pink fuchsia shorts and blue shoes. I've got a gray sock and a black sock on. Like, I am me. I'm going to be me in every situation. And a lot of that is my dedication to trying to prove to everyone, our people included, white people, Latinos, Asians, that we are who we are, not based on what we look like, but based on what we do. I make it a point that if I'm in a big business meeting, that I'm not wearing a suit and tie and the polished shoes. Like, no, if I can help it, I'll be wearing a do-rag. Because what we look like is not the value that we bring. And I'm not sure if any of y'all have heard of or started reading Resmaa Menakem's My Grandmother's Hands. But that book, I haven't finished it. I do want to put that out there. But that book has radically changed the way that I see myself and how I present myself. To be honest, I'm tired of the European power culture that tells us that we are supposed to look and act a certain way, and that makes us respectable. Specifically being in the realm of finance, were y'all alive in 2008? No? Yes? No? Well, there was this major financial crisis that happened in 2008 that sent the entire world into a recession. almost sent our country into a depression. And that was solely created by mostly men in suit and ties. So to me, a suit and tie doesn't mean anything about respectability or trust. Second to that, as an African American and as many indigenous and immigrants know, a white man in a suit usually doesn't mean anything good when you look at history. So to me, this whole idea of visual optics being that of the European oppressors is not for me. I like the way I look in a suit. I do look good in a suit, so I will put it on every once in a while. But I am an advocate of being you and finding people who allow you to be you. If any of your friends are quote unquote like embarrassed about who you are in public, they're acquaintances. You can say, hey, what's up to them every once in a while, but they're not the people that you need to be spending your life with. Did that answer your question? That was long. I talk a lot.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Willie. Yeah, let's just keep the questions going. Keep asking.
Mm-hmm.
Well, on the financial front, you mentioned the recession that these kids are not familiar with. And here you've launched a business that, basically I would assume is providing a service to navigate through this. So give us some pointers or the kids some pointers on like how, since they aren't familiar with this, like a incoming recession. And I guess that's another question too. Do you think we're heading into a recession? What are some tools to be equipped to come out on the other side successful?
Yes. Most financial people won't tell you this, but you're always in a recession if you make less than $120,000 a year. Let's be honest. You're always in a state of, well, how are we going to eat either next week, next month, or next quarter? That's typically the stretch of time that individuals that I like to help, which is not the 1%, the everyday working individual. Those are typically the situations that they're in. Being as I'm formerly a homeless individual, I've also lived in penthouses overlooking the beach before. Like, I've seen this entire spectrum of life. And so a lot of the things that I would tell you to do are truly the basics. Budgeting, budgeting. And it's not a traditional sense of budgeting where you're cutting out everything that you like. Like, nah, the budget will never work if you cut everything out that you like. You're always going to run over your budget. But if you plan for everything that you like within your budget, well, now you have a sense of control. You know exactly where your fund money is going to come from. You know exactly what you can do with your fund money, when you can do with your fund money, so that you're not pulling out of the bills that you need for next month, so that you can go out and have fun tonight. And honestly, that's pure habit. That's just habit. And the younger you are, and all studies prove this, the younger you are, the easier it is to build habits. So as young folk, what you can do now is, whether you have an official job or you just do little odd jobs around the neighborhood for some cash, so on and so forth, always put money aside for your future self first. And that's basically savings. Savings is just a bill that you are paying to your future self. Everything else are bills that you're paying to everybody else. And to be quite frank, F them other people. Take care of yourself first, which is why savings should always be that first item line in your budget, especially as a young kid, because most of your expenses are going to be paid for by, hopefully your folks or whoever your guardian is. So if you can learn to set money aside first for whatever you want in the future, that's going to be the number one thing. The second thing is planning. All right. Planning, not dreaming, planning. Eleanor Roosevelt once said, it takes just as much energy to plan as it does to dream. And that's true. The difference between a dream and a goal is a plan. That's the only difference. And so once you pair that habit of saving for the future with planning for the future, well, now you're incredibly dangerous. Everything else is a matter of falling into place. You know how to save, you know how to plan, you know how to thrive. Beyond that, as you get older, just follow your interests. By creating that savings habit and by planning, you'll be able to do whatever it is that you want to do and make money doing it. Everybody says you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. Like that's that's true. I love what I do. Technically, for me, right here talking with y'all, this is work. This is work. I don't see it as that. This is something that I get to do. This is something that I enjoy to do. So for me, this is playtime. So find it, whatever it is that you want to do, that you like to do, figure out how to make money doing that, but only after you set up your budget, you set up your planning. That way you have the ability to. Because like I was saying earlier, money doesn't buy happiness, but money does buy you options. Buys you the option to do what you want to do. So you budget and save now. Can you imagine graduating college with, $70,000 in cash? Like, not anything that you've spent towards college or anything like that. Nothing that, is locked up in, a car or a house or anything. I'm talking $70,000 cash. Imagine if you could do that from now at the age of 14 to 17, to the time that you graduate college. Imagine what you could do once you're a quote unquote adult, quote unquote, making real money, whatever that really means. When you've set that habit and you have a plan to achieve it, and now you have the means to go out and achieve it. Knowledge is not power. Knowledge with action is power. And in our society, money gives you action. Money gives you the power to act. So build those habits. I could get into some of like the workplace stuff. Do any of y'all have jobs yet? Like W-2 jobs, which you're paying taxes and stuff? No? Okay. I'll briefly touch on that then. When you're looking for a job, it's not all about the hourly take home, especially the older you get. 15, 16, 17, sure. Hourly take home, go for the highest you can get. But once you start providing for yourself, some of those other things are going to come into play, like benefits, health insurance, life insurance, disability insurance, dental insurance, vision insurance, so on and so forth. All of these things are things that you should be thinking about pretty much the moment you turn 18 to 22, somewhere in between there. I don't presume to know what your family structures are like, your home lives are like, but if it's the American way in which you're 18 and your parents say, oh, you're on your own, provide for yourself, these are the types of things that you need to be looking at when you're getting a job. Because what happens if you get sick and you need to go to the doctor? None of you have paid a hospital bill, but I can tell you right now, you can't afford it. You can't afford it. If you make less than $400,000 a year, you can't afford to go to the hospital without insurance. That's just where things are. Not only that, you come to the realization that if you're not making money, you are spending money, especially if you're living on your own. Because even if you don't go to work that day, your rent is still due. The electricity bill is still piling up. Your water bill is still piling up. Every day is you're either making money or spending money. So if you can find other people to spend their money for you, absolutely try to get that as much as possible. Beyond that, like I said, find what you like to do. Ask questions. Don't be embarrassed, especially about your finances. If you make a bad financial decision, there's at least 100 people within a 5-mile radius of you that made that exact bad decision at some point in their life. Hence, one of the reasons why you should have friends around you that you can trust and be vulnerable around. Because I've found this out as a financial advisor. People are more likely to talk about their sex life than they are to talk about their finances. And to me, that's just backwards. That's just wrong. I don't see how finance is something that everyone can get advice from takes a backseat to anything else. You know, our successes should be shared, but our failures should be shared as well. Because someone around you could have the answer for you, or could have a solution for you. So.
Right. I thank you, Willie. I like the fact that you said, because I think they need to know that business is hard. They need to know that business is not for everybody. And so this is something you have to put in your mind. Is this really something that you want? Right? Business is tough. Not everybody can own their own business. Not everyone can do that. And so it takes a unique person and people to do that. And Willie's a great example. And Willie, could you just touch more on, you know, the partnership with you and Jenny and the other partners you have? Kind of like what was the brain storming behind that?
Yes. So Jeannie and I actually both were originally very hesitant about going into business for ourselves. The logistics behind being an entrepreneur it's always going to be more than you think it is. Always. And so luckily, between both Jeannie and I, we had made enough contacts through our time working with larger companies to be able to get advice, to know where to go and know who to ask for certain things. For example, we have a huge thing called compliance. It's basically everything that we're run by. The SEC and FINRA. I'm sure you've heard those 3 and 4 letter agencies before. They basically govern all laws and penalties that have anything to do with the financial world. New York Life and Northwestern Mutual took care of all that. Like, I didn't have to worry about being out of compliance because every single system that they had was designed specifically to be in compliance. So there was no way for me not to be. Now there's lots of ways because we're doing our own thing. And so us being able to find the different resources we need to go to ask, hey, if we want to do this, are we good? You know, we have somebody that's able to do that for us. Knowing what you don't know is just as important in knowing what you do. Mistakes come when people try to take on something that they don't know how to do, and it lands them in hot water. So the majority of our partnership, at least the formation, was making sure that we had all of our bases covered as to who we could go to ask how we do things. Because one thing that Jeannie and I know very well is one-on-one conversations with people as to what their specific financial situation is. It's teaching people about, you know, budgeting, about credit, about loans, so on and so forth. Our specialty is not in setting up, you know, or an S corp. It's not in, you know, filing our taxes. It's not in, you know, making sure that our compliance is on T down to, you know, the different disclosures that are required in our email addresses. You know, we're not experts in that. We have to find experts in that to help us achieve our goal. If we or you as a business owner try to take everything on yourself, you will fail. It might not be this week, it might not be this year, but at some point in time, your entire business will collapse because one person just physically can't know and do everything. And so that was a large part of where we started. And actually where we still are. That's a constant evolution. Actually just came from a meeting in which we were deciding how to put our workflows together, you know, who does what when, and then what actions trigger what. You know, the logistics of starting your own business, we needed help with all of that. So then we went out and we found it. Beyond that, it's leaning into everything that we do. You know, we know what we like to focus on. We know what we know what we don't know. So we supplement. Dylan, it looked like you had a couple of questions kind of percolating there.
Yeah, I actually had a bit of a question about, like, you said you started your own company, right?
Mhm.
So what really was the point when it started, I don't know, like being successful, like taking off kind of?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we're well too early to call that. By no means would I say, a month after our launch, if we're on our way to being successful or not. I know that with the nature of the business that we did start, being in finance, the majority of our business comes from our personal relationships. I do believe that Jeannie and I are going to be wildly successful just from the individuals that we are. But that's as long as everything else gets taken care of as well. Like I was saying, the things that trip business owners up are the things that they don't really know how to do. Jeannie and I have a SEC violation like that's a killer. Like, we're not big enough or well known enough to survive something like that. We'd be out. So we know that we need to make sure that we employ somebody that's their specialty. They watch our back for that specific reason. If we even think about doing something that violates some sort of SEC thing, we've got somebody to tell us, nope, don't go there. So I believe that we are going to be successful. The business model that we have has started to prove to be successful, simply because we're still in finance. Jeannie 7 years in, me 3 years in. Typical finance career lasts about 8 months. So I do believe that the way that we are doing things, we are going to continue to be successful, and that opening our business just allows us more freedom to do that. And so I do want to preface that by saying every business is unique. The way every business values success is unique. The way every individual values success is unique. So that's not a question that I can completely answer to your satisfaction, simply because I'm not you and you're not me. Our look of success is a little different. If I'm saying financially, nah, I haven't succeeded yet. You'll learn when you start a business. You don't succeed financially when you first start a business. That's funny, but it allows you that positioning in the future. I do believe that I'm going to be wildly successful the way that I'm doing my business now. I do believe I'm going to make a lot of money in finance, not the way that the patriarchal hetero-Christian white male corporations make a lot of money. Probably not going to be that way, but however I do it, whatever I think is a lot of money, I do believe I'm going to achieve that, simply because I haven't say I've built it, but I am building that habit of savings. I am building that habit of planning. I am constantly working on myself as well as everything that's around me as well.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Keep the questions going. Keep asking.
I got a question. What is your definition of success?
It changes. Right now, like, I've got a little money in my bank account, so success looks a little different. Success really, to me, overall is, doing everything that I can to help the people around me. I truly don't care how people get, their finances together, as long as they do. If somebody wants to work with somebody that they've met through me and doesn't want to work with me, like, I'm not salty about that at all. Like, I'm like, good, cool. You're going to feel more comfortable with this person I'm introducing you to than you would with me anyway. So no matter what kind of help that I think that I could provide, it's not going to be nearly to the potential as what this individual could, simply because you connect with them more. So for success for me is allowing the people that are around me to truly thrive in whatever it is that they want to do. And as long as I have, like, roof over my head and I'm able to eat, so on and so forth, like, to me, that's success. So yeah. What about you?
My definition of success is actually, hold up, let me think. Come back to me, okay?
Okay. What about you, Dylan or Amira?
My definition of success is just keep trying until you actually feel like what you did was successful, you know?
Okay.
I guess my definition would probably be when I start making some money, probably, and also feel confident in what I'm doing.
Okay. All right, Jay, let me back to you.
My definition of success is accomplishing like what makes me happy and like like just not really giving up and like finding like like my ideal happiness and my peace for my own sanity and not really caring like it's just not really caring what other people like think. It's just like me just being happy with myself and within myself. That's success.
Yes. Those answers are awesome. And I do want to point out, Jalen, you might have a career in financial services coming, because one of the questions that I love to ask, my clients is, how do you know when you've been successful? Like that's a question that I ask people. And it's really a personality question. I know I don't think you knew that when you asked it, but it really is. It speaks to the motivations of an individual. And what I heard from the three of you was, I know when I've done a good job when I know, you have your own bar that you are reaching to achieve, to set, to reach. I'm not saying that I'm a fortune teller or clairvoyant or anything, but the three of you would make good business owners because your ideas of success are the things that you're going after and you're trying to achieve, and y'all are in your teens. That's awesome. That is awesome. And it's good to know that y'all have a pretty good idea of who you are. Make sure y'all lean into that, stick with that. Because whatever decision you make sure that it's based on what your values are, what your definition of success is.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
When starting a business, do you regularly like go through financial debt?
What do you mean financial debt?
In a way, like, because my biggest fear is like if I ever started a business but I don't make the money that I need to.
Mm-hmm. You're almost always going to start at a deficit. Almost always. Unless you have a ton of investors that can help you. And even then, you're still technically putting yourself in debt because now you owe all that money back. So I think that's one of the reasons why it's important for business owners to also have a personal financial advisor. So I do want to be clear. There is a difference. Financial advisor means a lot of different things. You can specialize in a lot of different things. There are those who specialize in business and then those who specialize in personal. Very, very different. A business owner is good at one thing, and that's owning and running their business. Business owners are usually terrible at running their personal finances because everything that they make, everything that they own, everything that they want to do goes directly back into business. They want to make sure that business is successful. And a lot of the times they do it at the expense of their own personal security. So it's a fine balance, which is why when you're young, developing those habits, putting money away, the savings, that payment to your future self, those all apply when you're a business owner as well, because you still have to pay yourself from the business. Now, I guarantee you're not going to be paying yourself exactly how much that you're actually worth to the business, but you have to pay yourself something because you have to pay rent. As you move on through life, I don't know if you plan on having children or starting families, so on and so forth, but responsibilities pile up quick, very quick. You hit 18, the next thing you know, you're 30. Like it happens very fast. And so making sure that you have stuff set aside for yourself while at the same time you're achieving all your business goals is very important. Because if you fail personally, you're going to fail in your business as well. Let's say you're putting all your money into your business and then your house catches on fire. Well, now you need somewhere to live, right? If you have a family, you have a couple kids, that's more than just monetary stress. That's family stress. That's human to human stress. You know, that's going to affect your work 100%. Humans can compartmentalize to a point, but a business owner's life, their personal life and their business life typically run together. And so once we start thinking of all of the different things that can happen, that do happen throughout life, we want to make sure that you're protected on both the business side and the personal side, which is where your team of professionals comes in. You know, you're good at running your business. Well, that's great. You should have someone there who not necessarily runs, but advises you on your business finances. Could be the same person, could be a different person advising you on your personal finances. You have a couple of lawyers, right? You have a business attorney, you have an estate attorney, right? You have a CPA, you have a tax lawyer, right? You have all of these different professionals that are surrounding you that take care of the areas that you can't, or that you don't focus on, because your number one thing is your business. So you let everything else go put on autopilot by surrounding by a team of professionals.
Yeah, Willie, thank you for those gems. Another thing I find important just off of your grand opening was the networking piece, but also how you had a gift card, or not gift cards, but had gifts of thank you or gratitude to the individuals who visited, and also sent an email. So something to think about when you are opening up your business or you have grand openings. Make sure you follow up with the people. And Willie did an amazing job with him and Jenny did an amazing job sending an email thanking everyone for coming, because you got to remember, like I've told you all, you have to treat everyone as a customer, a partner, or a potential investor. So those are the things you have to think about. And Willie is a prime example of doing all of those things. So I do thank you for that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, I think thank yous are huge. You know, I personally love thank you calls. You just had to do it in an email because we're starting a new business and everything is just flying at you at 1,000 miles an hour. But appreciation is huge. As you get older, you realize everyone has thousands of things that they could be doing. And most of them are completely valid for them to miss whatever it is that you got going on. Everybody's life is different. Everybody's priorities are different. Things that don't necessarily matter to you could be earth-shattering to somebody else, you know? So keeping that in mind, and especially with the people who support you, that's huge. And that will naturally grow your network. I don't do any advertising or anything like that for my business or anything like that. Like I never have. It's never been a thing of mine. I don't like going to networking events, actually. I hate going to, you know, a professional set up networking event where the only reason why people are there is specifically to connect professionally with other people. Like, to me, that's just so ingenuine, you know, but that's me. That's how I feel. And so I like my connections to be organic, you know, like I said, volunteering. I mean, if you want to meet people, volunteer. Like, if you want to grow your Rolodex, grow your business contacts, volunteer, join a board, so on and so forth. That's the way that I can garner most of my contacts. Outside of that, I talk to everybody when it comes to all the stuff that I like to do. In fact, I'm an avid snowboarder now. Last year was my first full season of snowboarding. Picked it up when I turned 30. But I went twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Middle of the week, you know, didn't have to deal with any traffic or anything like that. Should have been at work. You know, I was a business owner, and I initially started doing it just for my mental health, you know, just to get out in nature. But I realized that everyone that I met, I liked. And so I just started talking to everybody. And then I'm like, you know what? Let me go on Facebook. Let me see if there's any, you know, BIPOC people who do these outdoor winter activities. Yeah, there's a ton. You know, next thing I know, my interests are now my main friend group, which then also feeds into what my business is, because my business is knowing and talking to people, you know. And so everything in my life, I feel, is either business is personal or personal is business. And I like it that way. I'm not a compartmentalization person, you know. my phone call on a Saturday night with whoever I'm hanging out with that night is just as much of a business conversation as it is, Monday morning at 9 a.m. The relationship building is relationship building, regardless of where you are. And if I'm being real honest, that's the business that I'm in, is building relationships. However I can build that, that's how I build it. However I like to build it, that's how I build it. I'll rephrase that. However I like to build it, that's how I build it. So I got lucky that way. Yeah.
So you mentioned you have a partner that you started this business with.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share a little bit about the way you structured it? Do you have a partnership agreement? What's your corporate legal structure?
Yes, so we are an LLC, limited liability corporation. We do not have a partnership agreement. We're so brand new, we're just getting everything started. We're honestly just kind of figuring out how all of this works. I do recommend that everybody you get a partnership agreement before you go into partnership with people. Don't do it the way that I'm doing it. I have full faith, trust, and just my business partner to me is closer to me than a family member. Like we just get along. Everything with us is unistep, lockstep, so on and so forth. And so I completely am okay for right now operating without a partnership agreement. However, at some point, especially when big money starts flowing, it's important to know who gets what, when, how, so on and so forth. Just to not have any misconceptions or misconstrue anything or think something is supposed to happen one way and it happens a different way. Things like that can ruin partnerships, friendships, family relationships. Luckily, Jeannie and I we're not ones that pay too much attention to the actual money as long as we can pay our bills. We're truly in it for the impact. That's easy for me to say. I'm not married. I don't have any kids. So the only responsibility is for me to feed, clothe, and house myself. And that's a large portion as to why I'm okay with it. If I had more responsibilities, other people depending on me, so on and so forth, that wouldn't have been the case. I would have needed something directly up front and make sure it spelled everything out. And that's a personal thing, and that's something that each one of you through living life you'll learn about yourself. I know that I am completely okay with flying by the seat of my pants. I don't like to. That's that alcoholic trauma that's in me. Flying by the seat of my pants might get me into some trouble, but I had a lot of practice. And so, I can cope. And I'm willing to cope in certain situations for the right people. But as a rule of thumb for y'all going forward, you start a business with somebody, even if it's your mama, you write something out so that you know exactly what's going where, who gets what. So if somebody says, "Oh, you said I was going to get 60%," no, we agreed on 50. It's in writing. You already know. You don't have to worry about it. That was a good question. One I was not expecting, obviously.
I got another question.
Mm-hmm.
So further on to further down the path of your business, do you plan on hiring employees?
Yes. I'm not sure if I ever want to get to a point. Well, I don't know. I'm very split on this. I don't know if I ever want to get to a point where I'm big enough to where I need a lot of people around me. Our business is called Altitude Financial Partners for a reason. We believe in partnerships. So as I'm the first partner in this business, I have my specific, vision of where I want to take my business. Jeannie has her specific where she wants to take her business. ours overlap very significantly in a lot of different areas. But we do almost kind of run independently in some senses. That's kind of the structure that we're looking to set up, and that's as of right now. But like I said, I'm 31. I've been doing this for 3 years now. I'm still pretty new to the entire financial structure. One of my big pipe goals is, a wholly owned Black life insurance and financial services company. I know for a fact that's going to take like $1 billion of upseat. So, that's far out. And obviously you start something like that, you're going to have a lot of employees underneath you, just from a logistical standpoint to make sure everything runs correctly. So for me, I'm kind of on the fence. If I can inspire somebody to do the Black-owned insurance company and just help them along the way, then that'd be perfect. That'd fit right into what my current business model is. But to be honest, if nobody does it, then why not? I mean, I might as well. But like I said, I'm flexible. I don't have those other responsibilities that I have to worry about as of this moment. So my planning is a little bit different, and it can change. Jamin, I might try to get you an internship whenever you graduate college. So let me know. If you want to go to college. If you don't, let me know. I can get you some jobs. I got you.
All right. There we go.
All right,
Yeah,
Dylan, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think let's have each student just kind of tell you their business
Okay.
and where they're from.
Okay.
So let's go start with Dylan, since you pointed out Dylan.
Sorry, bud.
So you just like say what I'm supposed to say again?
So just tell them what's the business or the business you're interested in, and just tell them where you're from.
Okay. So basically the business I'm interested in is like creating a video game, which is basically coding. So I want to create something to bring entertainment and like quality to people. And also also just kind of really just show them that it doesn't always have to be something that's just hard. It can be something that's fun.
Right. So the video game is about coding. It's a fun way to do coding.
No. It's like
up in the air?
No, like my business is coding.
Okay.
Coding video games.
Coding video games. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. And that's a huge industry. There's a lot of potential in that. I would say that you definitely need to be networking and making friends in those tech circles.
Yeah.
If you like to, whatever it is that you like to do, I guarantee you there are techies who like to do that. For example, I know at least 5 guys that I've met on the mountain snowboarding that moved to Colorado during the pandemic specifically to code and snowboard, just because the pandemic allowed virtual work. And I don't think you're ever going to get a coder back in the office 5 days a week ever again. Just no reason.
I hope
not. So, there's a lot of freelance work when it comes to that, a lot of contracting, so people can run their own companies in which all they do is use their resources to get contracts from different companies. That way you can do whatever you want, you can work wherever you want, however long you want, and make however much you want. But for you, make sure that you're making connections. Talk with everyone, anyone who's interested in code, even anyone who's interested in anything that has to do with computers. Even if they're, actually on the physical level building them, like talk to everybody who has anything to do with computers. You never know what bridge will open up from what relationship, even in the future. Like I have people I went to high school with that are working on the Mars rover. Like I never would have thought that. Like the kid was a little weird, but I was a little weird. And so we got along, 10,
Actually,
12, 13 years later. He's in this aeronautical industry, If I was in that industry, that'd be a huge connection for me, So just make sure that you're talking with anybody who has any interest in anything that you want to do. Just connect with them.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Jalen.
Oh, wait, hold on. Dylan, where are you from?
Florida.
Okay, cool. You know, Florida has one of the most extensive underground river systems in the world. I think it's only second to the Yucatan, Mexico. Yeah.
That's a fun fact.
Yeah. Sorry, Jen, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Jalen. I'm 15 years old. I'm from Colorado. A type of business I want to start is like a jewelry business, as long with like a skincare business and clothing, like mainly just beauty, like, you know. And that's why I'm gonna go to school to be a dermatologist, to be like get more into skincare and everything. So yeah.
Okay. So you like the clinical side of skincare, not this Olay Rejuvenist, pay $550 to try to reduce your crow's feet.
Yeah, no, I like the more like clinical stuff. Like,
Okay. That's awesome. Especially being a Black woman right now, that's a wonderful thing. You know, I'm a very, very large advocate in buying Black, and that's not just, you know, from your local Black real store or anything like that. It's also the store, you know, sourcing Black fabrics, you know, sourcing Black products when it comes to beauty, so on and so forth. And so we need different people in different positions. And I think that right now that is a huge growth industry, especially for African Americans, because a lot of us are kind of like me, just sick and tired of working for, you know, these larger corporations that are making so much money and not helping anybody that we know or that we can actually touch, you know. So I think that is huge. Awesome. That is great. But if you ever want to get into finance, let me know. What about you, Amira?
I'm a little similar to Jalen. My business will also be on homemade supplies where like you can like come in and like make jewelry, because at first I thought jewelry would be like hard to make, but like for example right now there's this one that I'm actually about to sell. It looks a lot like this.
Oh, okay.
And like I'm only, it's like $15 and someone already bought it off. So like when I sell it to them, like it's like I feel like helping Black women with like the gold in their beauty on their skin would like actually make a huge impact for a lot of people, because like some people, they wake up in the morning and like they don't know what to wear, they don't know like how to dress, and like they don't know what like accessories they need. And so if you like come in, I would automatically like help with that.
Yeah, that's awesome. My older sister, she started in finance. She was working for like trust services for some bank. She had a baby, got laid off because of that, which yeah, sucks. But she decided that that's what she wanted to do. She decided no training, no nothing, no prior background. She's just like, you know what? I kind of want to be a personal stylist. She went head into it. You know, now she's her own business owner. She does a lot of different things. You know, she does styling, brand awareness, brand consulting, business consulting, and personal consulting. Like she does a whole bunch of stuff. But it's because she followed what she loved. You know, so that's awesome to hear. I do encourage you to keep going. You know, our Black women need everything. Anything you can think of, our Black women need it. And so I thank you for stepping in exactly where it's needed. So I appreciate that. Where were you from?
Denver, Colorado.
Okay. So 2 Colorado natives. That's rare. I'm a Colorado native as well. I don't know if I said that earlier. So awesome.
Well, again, thank you. Thank you, Willie. We appreciate you.